All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here today for hopefully somewhat of a brief presentation, and there'll be opportunities afterwards to ask questions to our team. So again, good afternoon. My name is Tom Evers. I'm the Assistant District Engineer for MoDOT in the St. Louis region. I'm gonna hand off to a couple other MoDOT employees to walk through what we have to share with you tonight. So again, we're prioritizing tonight. We're looking at our unfunded projects that we have identified. So right now, all of this information is out on our website in draft form. This is your opportunity this evening to learn what's on the draft, but also to provide comments back to MoDOT on what we have available. So in the audience today, I just want to point out that we have I'll say a smattering of MoDOT employees. I don't think I'm going to call everyone out exactly by name, but we have many of our planning team here. So anyone that's in MoDOT planning, please stand and/or raise your hand. So we have 3 people with planning, and they help put together the entire document. Our planning team is responsible for managing both our funded projects in terms of finances, and also identifying and projecting what our needs are in the next next several decades even. So when you look at our tiers, which Tyler will explain, our different tiers will kind of enumerate like approximately when some of these projects could be expected to be delivered. And then also we have area engineers here today. So I think we have 3 or 4 area engineers that are present. And I will call you all out by name, just so you have an idea. Jen Wade, sitting here, is with our city, and she manages our program and our area team in the St. Louis City area. Ryan Piercy in the back row in the blue shirt is over our Southwest area team, so Southwest St. Louis County area, basically anything south of Page. Andy Turek is in our St. Charles County area as area engineer, and then standing in the back in the red shirt is Jordan Dalaveras. He covers both Jefferson and Franklin counties. So if you have specific questions about projects in those areas, please see them. Anyway, moving on. So our transportation system is tremendous. We have over 33,000 miles of road statewide to maintain, over 10,400 bridges statewide. And we just have one of the largest systems in the nation. So even though Missouri isn't necessarily one of the biggest geographical nations in the region, we do have roughly the 7th largest transportation system. Our high priority unfunded needs identifies roughly $1.1 billion in unfunded transportation needs for the system. Again, this is statewide, not just the St. Louis region. And this list was created to guide, to help identify our teams in terms of what are our next priorities moving forward. So again, you all are invited to review the list, provide feedback. This presentation and all the materials and a comment form are available. It's available here tonight, but also online at modot.org/high priority unfunded needs public meetings. Basically, if you put in MoDOT unfunded needs into Google, you will find the site. Next slide. I should probably do slide advancement on my own, huh? On the next slide, so first off, the primary source of revenue is threefold. So Missouri is primarily funded by the fuel tax. So fuel is our number one revenue source. Registration and licensing fees, and also motor vehicle sales taxes also contribute to MoDOT's program. If you look at these boards over here, it's okay, Tyler, you can block them. The 2 boards over here is everything that we have funded in our current 5-year program. So the current 5-year program says 2026 through 2030. Those are fiscal years, state fiscal years. Actually, we're currently in state fiscal year 2026. So all these projects are coming relatively soon to a roadway near you. There's a lot of projects on this map in the St. Louis region. Everything on those other projects are some of the unfunded tiers, which we'll get into a little later in the presentation. Again, overall, again, like I said, we are funded primarily by our fuel tax. Our fuel tax did get increased in 2021 at the rate of 2.5 cents per year for 5 years. So if you pause and count the years, we are now fully into that additional fuel tax that was passed by Senate Bill 262 some 5 years ago. So now we have 12.5 cents more than we did before in our fuel tax, which I think was at 17 cents originally. So we jumped from 17 to 29.5. And overall, Missouri drivers pay only an average of $34 per month in fuel taxes and fees to operate and maintain the system, which I believe is a good deal for taxpayers, because the user of the road that uses our fuel and uses our system, we turn around and spend that to maintain and enhance our current system here at MoDOT. And then over the last decade or so, this investment has resulted in about 4,100 projects totaling roughly $10 billion over the last 10 years. But in this current upcoming statewide program, again on the boards over here, just in this 5-year period, also totals $10 billion, with about 1,200 projects total. So if you pause and think about that, $10 billion over 10 years versus $10 billion in just 5 years. And also, if you dive into more of the details of this, we only fund the last 2 years of the program at 50%. So essentially, we're only programming 4 total years of projects at $10 billion. Sorry. So that's enormous. But even so, MoDOT is only about 47th in the nation in terms of funding. So even with the additional state fuel tax, with all the other details or all the other ways that MoDOT is funded, we still rank pretty low nationwide in terms of how we're funded. But fortunately, we are able to do some additional work in the region than just taking care of the system type of projects. So when you look at how our funding distribution is broken up, overall, I'll go through this pretty quickly, but so the 1.25 is the total program funds that are available, and essentially out of those construction program funds, $58 million is taken off the top through safety. Sorry, the 1.25 is really billions of dollars, so it's 1.25 billion. And then the 58 million is taken off the top annually for safety. We utilize about $887 million for asset management, and the remainder goes towards system improvement. So when you take the top 2 things off the board, safety and asset management, which is what we have to do to maintain our roads and bridges, then whatever is left can be utilized for system improvement type of projects. So an example of a system improvement project would be I-55 in Jefferson County that is being widened currently. That project is enhancing the system. It's widening the roadway, providing safety benefits, interchange improvements. Those aren't necessarily taking care of the system. Those are mostly about improving the system on that corridor. And that project would not be where it is today without the additional funding from Senate Bill 262. And then let's see. I guess I should talk a little bit about the tiers. So oh no, I'm not on the tiers. That's not my slide. Sorry, wrong page. So I think I'm done with. I think I'm good with that. All right, yeah, we'll go to the bucket slide. All right, so then additionally, our high priority unfunded needs can be split into different buckets through here. So when MoDOT completed this, our number 1 goal here is to take care of our transportation system. Our second priority is to keep travelers safe. Our third is to invest in projects that spur economic growth and create jobs. Fourth is to give Missourians better transportation choices. And fifth is to improve reliability to reduce congestion. So all this is broken up into different pots within our program, but essentially it goes back to the previous slide. that's focused on safety, taking care of the system, and system improvement. But these break it down even further into certain pots of money go towards just road conditions, just bridge condition, our MoDOT maintenance and operations. So when our crews are out there patching potholes, plowing snow, some of the funds get utilized for maintenance operations. Again, there's also the $330 million is investing in projects that increase economic growth and improve safety. Some money is taken off the top for major interstate reconstruction and so on and so forth. So throughout our program, we split the money up through various pots moving forward. So with that, I think I will turn it over now to Tyler, who will talk more about the actual unfunded needs that are in the draft form and are primarily on the boards over there and also in the multimodal behind us.
So each year, our planning partners help us develop the list across the state. So throughout the state, we have MPOs, which is our metropolitan planning organizations, and then our RPCs, which is the Regional Planning Commission. And those we help guide us with their needs as well. So within the prioritization of the unfunded needs this year, all across the state, it's $4.7 billion in road and bridge needs that we have. Tier 1 and across the state is $524.6 million. And this could be accomplished within the current 5-year STIP. And then Tier 2 this year is $2.21 billion. This is beyond the STIP. So this would be your 5 to 10 years past the STIP. And then 1.97 billion, and this is 15 years and beyond. So we have a lot of needs, but this just goes beyond. We have more needs than just what we have presented here today. And then additionally, we have multimodal, which is currently at $1 billion worth of needs. And often MoDOT would not be the agency delivering these projects. These would be your local agencies or nonprofits such as GRG. So the process here, so if you can see, we have a little wheel here. So one is we establish a vision. This is where the project creation comes from. Then we identify the needs within that particular corridor or area. And then step 3, that's where we are today. So the district works with MPOs, again, the RPCs, to do our annual regional needs to collectively address safety, traffic, and asset conditions. To help select the highest priority within the MoDOT district's boundaries. So as you can see, we're here number 5. We're the only district inside of Missouri that has one MPO. The rest of the districts are either broken up into little RPCs or have one MPO that doesn't cover the entire district. Our district is totally covered by East-West Gateway as our MPO. So here is the map of all the needs this year within across the state, across the tiers 1, 2, and 3, and multimodal. So as we get into tier 1, we identified $172.5 million worth of needs. This year, we've added 6 new projects to Tier 1. Some of those projects include reconfiguring St. Louis Airport access, replace bridges, reconfigure interchanges, and pavement and improvements. This is a partial. We couldn't fit the full dollar value that we were constrained to. So you'll see that as well as in Tier 2. And then on I-70, we have capacity improvements, phase 1 on Route N, and interchange system improvements on I-64 in the St. Louis City, and then intersection improvements on Missouri 100 at St. John Road to I-44. Tier 2, this is where we identified $840.4 million worth of needs. This is where we feel the bulk of our needs are. This is where we can feel like we can deliver these projects within the next 10 to 15 years. We added 15 new projects this year to Tier 2. Some of those projects, again, is the airport access and replace bridges to reconfigure interchange and pavement improvements. That would be the final partial. And then I-70 corridor safety interchange improvements at I-44 from West Shawneetown Ford Road to Route O in Franklin County, and then safety interchange improvements at US 61 from Winsfield Parkway to Route A, and then interchange safety interchange improvements in St. Charles County, safety and signal and pavement improvements on Missouri 30 from city limits to I-44 in the city of St. Louis. Tier 3, these are the projects that 15 years on out, we don't have a good source of identification of the rough estimates, but we know that they're in need. So eventually these projects will work their way up to tiers 2 and 1. So this year we've added 7 new projects. Some of those projects include safety improvements on US 67 from Route CC to Francis County line in Jefferson County, corridor improvements on Missouri 47 from City of Washington to St. Clair in Franklin County, and then congestion improvement mitigation improvements on I-270 from Route 100 to I-64 in St. Louis County, and then corridor improvements from I-70 from Bryan Road to Zumble in St. Charles County, and interchange improvements on I-70 from Cherie Avenue to Branch Street in the city of St. Louis. So in closing, the district has added 41 projects with the High Priority Unfunded Needs. Last year we had 28 projects, so we've added quite a bit of new projects. That's because some of the projects have been delivered within the STIP. Multimodal, we've identified $337 million worth of needs working with our planning partners. All 5 counties in St. Louis are representative with the bike and pedestrian and aviation ports and transit projects requests with combination of, again, the $337 million. Many of those projects requests are not in full cost to construct, but rather are partials to facilitate attracting additional funding. And again, these multimodal projects are not typically on MoDOT right away, so these would be funded by other agencies within the areas. Over $30 million in projects were funded off last year's High Priority Funded Needs modal list by organizations and grants. Activity transportation projects are the largest of St. Louis region. Multimodal's High Priority Unfunded Needs list, followed by transit and aviation. Expanding freight and traffic on waters and gaining popularity. Previously in Jefferson County, Port Authority received a state earmark for establishing a port similar to the 2024 list. The 2025 list expanded the number of proposed projects for ports and waterways. Activity transportation projects are typically funded through local government capital improvement programs or federal transportation grants through East-West Gateway. A handful of transportation projects competed nationally for grants programs, in one such as the Brickline Greenway or West Florissant's Great Streets. Major transit projects like the Green Line by Metro Transit are represented by a partial amount to support the future local match, attract federal funding. And recent study trails projects like the Baltic Greenway in St. Charles, Centennial Greenway in St. Louis County, and the Honeymont Greenway in St. Louis City were added to the 2025 multimodal list. And then a third round trip for Amtrak River Runner between St. Louis and Kansas City is on the list as requested of the public and recommended by economic impact studies of the River Runner. So as we close, this is the summary of how the breakdown of where each tier and bucket went into as far as economic and road improvement. So MoDOT district, his total is for HPUN is $1.97 billion on this year's 2025 unfunded needs list. MoDOT roughly spends 80% of its STIP dollars on asset management needs. This list is fiscally constrained, and our funded needs go beyond just the $1.97 billion. So if you'd like to comment, now is the time. This is the official comment on that QR code, or you can go to the website. And then next, we have our long-range transportation and state and freight presentation that Tom's going to take over.
All right, thank you, Tyler. I'm seeing you in this. All right. So, can you believe it? We have a fuel tax increase. We have additional state and federal funds available to us. I've been at MoDOT a long time. These are the greatest days to be at MoDOT with access to funds. We can actually achieve the purpose of our organization, taking care of and operating a state transportation system for all users. But, turn that off.
You turn it off, you don't get it.
All right, I'm back.
So you have to scan for one way or the other.
I'm trying to stay. He's got us on Facebook Live. So I'm trying to stay on this one. All right, so greatest days. We have all this funds to get all this done, but I thought you'd be here. Thank you for coming tonight to listen to all these unfunded needs. And please speak up. I know many of you in the room that are here represent a lot of people. So please, between now and September 11th, make sure you actually get your voices out there. As district engineer responsible for MoDOT in the St. Louis district, I have nightmares. Many of you have told me my nightmares stopped. One night ago, none of you showed up, but we just all know that employees were in there. So thank you for coming. My second nightmare regarding this would be no public comments from St. Louis. Wouldn't that be horrible? We are St. Louis, 1/3 of Missouri's population, so our highway commission, our statewide leaders in the capital right field, they need to hear from St. Louis. So I expect that we don't have everything right on this unfunded needs list, or even if we do, please take the time for you and others to go and voice that and say, hey, exactly 47, because I know he wants 47 improvements. 47 is right. We need more money because he's already been to all the CAGs and knows that Jordan doesn't have enough money to deliver all the improvements on 47 that we want. So speak up on that. Now, since we're here, we get to have a bonus session. I get to tell you about another thing, another survey you get to do. I don't know how many of you guys remember, but a year ago, MoDOT, our consulting team, and everything, and we are doing our long-range transportation plan and a freight rail plan across the state of Missouri. So since you're here, we're going to spend a few moments and go through that real quick. At the end of this, there is another survey, which you can actually comment on that plan. So we'll tell you a little bit about the plan, if you haven't been following along. First and foremost, all state DOTs are required to do a long-range transportation plan. So we are required to do this. I just want to acknowledge that, because some people may just think we're goodwill people aren't just doing this. We're required to do a long-range transportation plan. We do one about every 5 to 7 years. The long-range transportation plan does not list projects. It lists parameters to move our organization forward. It establishes public expectations through goals and objectives, and then that leads us to decision making. The long-range transportation plans identifies future needs of the transportation systems, but not specifically projects. So it establishes a strategic vision that guides the future transportation decisions throughout the state of Missouri. Our goals, these are all our goals. We're going to go through a slide on each one of these real quick. This is what so far, I think we started this year. We've already had a whole bunch of virtual participation. These are some of our first in public meetings in person. And if you come to State Fair and come to our garden, we also have public presentations going on there every day at the State Fair, trying to get input on this. But these are the goals that have been drafted so far. So first you have stewardship. You guys, many of you in the room are stewards in your own positions. So I don't have to lecture you on what stewardship is, but this is going to be a place to reinforce that we are responsible stewards of Missouri's transportation system, and we are responsible to preserve and maintain the assets that are already in place. We are responsible for spending state funding, state and federal funding well. We need to keep everything in good repair. We need to address future needs and technologies. Like stewards of environmental and cultural impacts are listed in this category. Next goal is safety. So we are committed to enhancing the safety of Missouri's transportation system for all users. I'm just pausing because I know there's some in the crowd that really care about all users, right? So for all users, not just motorists. This includes our system-wide safety improvements, focusing on our efforts of our Show Me Zero safety plan, strong partnerships with many of you in the room. We have partnerships with safer connection points, support for vulnerable road users. Next goal is prosperous. So part of the transportation system is to help create jobs, to grow businesses, to strengthen our regional competitiveness or our state competitiveness. Under this goal, we want to have stronger partnerships. Again, these are goals that help us make better decisions, right? So we want to have stronger partnerships. Prioritize high return projects, secure federal grants for transformational initiatives. That's what we want to do in this goal. The next goal is reliable. This one's probably been our most challenging lately, with just like this weekend, with historic rains and we saw floods in parts of St. Louis. But reliable, we want to ensure efficiency and reliability in Missouri's transportation system to keep everyone and everything, goods and people, moving safely and consistently. This applies as a practical thing, but also a life cycle thing where we need to constantly keep making those investments, because especially in St. Louis, our systems wear out. And as we have Mother Nature beating at us all the time, it wears out even faster than just the use of it. This also applies to reliability and bottlenecks. Just as you guys all chose to be here, or got to be here, depends on your situation. But right outside here, 270 southbound, is it free flow traffic right now? No. All of you that are here where we're at know that southbound 270 right now is not free flow traffic. So this reliability and resiliency also has to do with traffic and how do we prioritize keep traffic moving and everything. And I'm not saying that we want 270 to be substantially wider so we have free flow traffic, because some traffic congestion is good. But resiliency also. Next goal is connected. So this shows our commitment to improving mobility and connectivity for our communities across Missouri, throughout Missouri. This expands our multimodal transportation choices, so I know some of you in here really care about that too. This includes providing an accessible and connected system for all users, preserving and enhancing multimodal connectivity during project development, expanding multimodal operations throughout the state. Then we have innovative. So innovative is our commitment to integrating emerging technologies into the transportation system so we're prepared, efficient, and future ready as a state. So these can be simple things like some of us within MoDOT and our industry or partners see, such as cost-saving technologies in the way we build, construct, and maintain. Or they can be more visible things, such as we've all talked about for years, for automated vehicle technologies, deploying innovative work zone practices. Sometimes you can see those, or identifying alternate funding methods. So that's about the end of it, because right here, this slide, I don't really like how it says this up, but it says what I said at the beginning. The long-range transportation plan is not the High Priority Unfunded Needs list. The High Priority Unfunded Needs list are projects that are not funded yet. So please comment on that Tyler and Tom just talked about, but also please take time to comment on this, which really sets our goals. So another QR code for you. another thing to promote, to get involved. This is a great time to sort of get those goals established so that MoDOT for at least the next 5 to 7 years will keep going back to all of those goals, and we'll keep saying this was established and required long-range transportation plan for that took place. All right, with that, are there any questions? Are we doing open mic now? We have your mic in the hands. Okay, let's go for it. Does anybody have any question you want to ask in front of everybody? Otherwise, what are the ones I think all have our badges on so you can pick us out?
Hey, Tom.
Hey.
What are the metrics that you use for economic benefits? It's not just jobs to make jobs, is it? It's like, how do you measure economic benefit?
Well, there's real jobs, not just a minimum wage job. So there's real jobs. We work with the Department of Economic Development to establish all those frameworks. I keep it really simple. We are not experts on how do you measure economic development. We work with Missouri Department of Economic Development to do that. We follow their guidance on where it is. Often we're relying, like right here, not that far away from where we are, some of the investments by Edward Jones in partnership with the state of Missouri, and they committed, Edward Jones committed a lot of significant jobs to St. Louis through the state of Missouri. And in exchange for that, MoDOT and the state capital were able to allocate some of their economic development funds. And then Edward Jones had to keep those jobs for a certain period of time. And those were high paying and high skilled jobs. Questions?
To build on hers, is there like a number? It used to be, I used to always hear that if you put $1 in transportation, it brings back $4.
Yeah, I think that's our soundbite is that. Yeah, $1. And that's a mix of real jobs, like I'm talking Edward Jones jobs, like when we redid, say, 270 Dorset, and they brought in more jobs. But that's also a combination of the construction work and the maintenance work that we do, that kind of stuff. So it's not just Edward Jones type jobs or Boeing jobs.
I just haven't heard the number before.
Yeah, it's in the report. It's like 1.4. I don't think they changed it. It's been the same. All right, we got one behind you.
First of all, thank you all for the work, the time, and effort you put into this. It is appreciated. I have a question about a return on investment. So with these unfunded needs, we're going to see faster roads, and we're going to see smoother roads. But my question is, based on the increase that we're paying for the gas tax, compared to what the plan is to reduce crashes at 2% a year, that's not a good return on investment when you're planning crashes down 2%, but the overall cost is coming up. So that sets me up for my point. What about crash costs? Why are crash costs, and I know that MoDOT does not directly receive any benefits for crash costs, but all the citizens do, and it's in your taxes. And that's something that the citizens could gravitate to, that they can grasp and understand, is how much are they going to get based on these safety programs.
So thank you, Michael, for the question. So I think he's referring back to like this. We see 2% rough math. Tom Evers was talking about the $1.2 billion at the top that's distributed across the state of Missouri through our state and federal transportation taxes to projects into our STIP in the current fiscal year. That's the current fiscal 26 state fiscal year. And that safety dollar amount there, Michael, that's all the federal funds that are required to be spent on safety. That's not all the money that's actually spent on safety. Because I'll tell you, my team here in St. Louis knows every project we have has significant safety dollars in it. Some of my team members like Tyler and Sean and Cindy know even better than I how not every dollar that we spend on safety is actually itemized to safety. So we spend more than that $58 million across the state on improving safety on the corridors. Are we spending enough? Are we doing fast enough? We're probably not, but we're trying.
One last statement, if I may. 1.25 billion is the top figure there. Do you realize in your district, Tom, not just only St. Louis County and St. Louis City, we had crash costs last year higher than that. American region. And what it does is it could help you get more funding. Because if people see the return on investment in terms of safety, crash costs, it can help you get more funding, and the politicians will gravitate in that direction. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. Any other questions for a better good of everybody? Otherwise, we'll break up and you guys can all talk to yeah, a couple more.
First time ever doing something like this. I feel like such a movie citizen. Thanks for having me. My first one is, how did we pick this place for this meeting in St. Louis?
Okay. First question, how do we pick this place? It was available. We had some other places fixed, but they weren't available. So I mean, it is a public
transit users. Yes. It would have taken them 90 minutes to get down here with almost a mile walk from where they go.
We have had this in more public transit places before. We weren't able to accomplish that.
Right. And then, is Gravois, that's a MoDOT road, right?
Depends on which section of Gravois.
Okay. I like riding my bicycle. I would never ride my bike on gravel despite there being a bike lane. I tried to look through some of this, but again, it's just being new. Is there safety stuff for pedestrians and cyclists baked into some of this work that's been done?
So you're talking Gravois in the city or in St. Louis? Or all?
Yes.
Okay.
But specifically the city. I also know, not Gravois, but Big Bend in the county, there was a cyclist killed crossing Branch Trail very recently.
Yes.
And so I'm just thinking about like the lives of people that want to move outside of the car, and how are these monies being, how can they be spent on that sort of stuff?
Okay, so on the big picture of what I was talking about, the long-range transportation plan, you need to speak up and say how important that is. Let's look at context. On the next smaller picture, we have 3 tiers plus multimodal of these are the next high priority unfunded needs. So that gets a little bit more project specific on what Tyler and Tom were speaking about earlier. You need to speak up on that. Both of these are virtual public comment periods. You don't just have to say it now or write it down on a piece of paper. I encourage you to go online and spread the word. You know, and say, hey, we need this, whether that the goals on bigger things or project specific. Speak up on that. I have a lot of great engineers in the room. When we break up, I encourage you to on Gravois to talk to Jen Wade in the city. She's our engineer in the city. And right over here is Ryan Piercy. He's the area engineer in St. Louis County. So between the two of them, they have oversight on all of that. All right? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I pretty much just wanted to echo what this gentleman was saying, that I don't own a car by choice. I have the ability to, but they're just really bad for our community, the economy, the environment. We care about that. And so really we need to move away from personal automobile transportation and fund other options like public transit is the best, specifically rail. I know we had the Green Line that was put on hold, but we should still continue planning for that so we can apply for the federal grant when we get a more amenable federal government for that. But locally, yeah, we need to shift away from cars, prioritize rail transit, especially definitely walking and biking, because we can't just have everyone driving their own car everywhere. It just would not work out. I mean, geometry, like there's not enough space for that. So we need to fund alternatives. They're better for the economy, they're better for quality of life, better in general. So we really need to move away from car centricity towards more sustainable forms, especially rail.
All right, thank you for that comment. And again, I encourage you, thanks for your comment. I encourage you to make sure you type it in. And that could be applicable both on the funding needs list and the long range transportation plan. So I encourage you to fill out both surveys.
Hey, Tom, can you explain how MoDOT interacts with the Metropolitan Planning Organization, East West Gateway, and the authority or lack of authority you have over it? Because Biden passed an infrastructure bill in November of 2021. In 2022, 23, and 24, the entire region was ineligible for implementation grants, which construction grants, okay, the entire region was ineligible. That means that we put no jurisdiction, no municipality put together a road safety plan. In 2024, Kansas City was awarded the $10 million grant. In 2024, the city of Columbia was awarded an $8 million grant. The maximum you could receive each year in 2023, 22, 23, 24 is $30 million. So if you look at that, and we're talking about funding in our unfunded priorities, we missed out on $90 million. Okay? The $90 million will go a long ways for everything that everyone in this audience is talking about in terms of improving safety. So my question is, what authority does MoDOT have over East West Gateway when you have abysmal planning to miss that funding opportunity, which was a $6 billion infrastructure bill for road safety?
All right, so what David's talking about, just to fill you guys all in, is Safe Streets for All, right? Safe Streets for All. Yeah, SS4A grant that was being developed in the current federal transportation bill. And he's asking that question with the focus on he knows, because I've talked to him. He knows that MoDOT is not even eligible sponsor for that, so we can't get the money. The money that he's talking about will go to our cities and counties, and our region wasn't available. They hadn't completed the planning study necessary, so they weren't eligible. Our region missed 7 years of eligibility. But the question David's asking is what's authority or responsibility MoDOT has oversight with our municipal planning organization, East West Gateway. And we are, to answer the question simply, we are a non-voting member on the East West Gateway Board of Directors.
Do you approve?
Both Illinois and Missouri are non-voting members. So we don't really have a lot of authority over our municipal planning organization. And our municipal planning organizations across the country are communities over 2 million people, and that is a federal expectation to have a municipal planning organization to do that regional planning and everything. And they are the ones that sort of score the projects and divvy out the federal transportation funds that are for local projects, which included for the last few years the Safe Streets for All SF4A grants.
So is that a political decision? And I'm asking actually one of my friends just to piggyback on that. What I was going to ask too is in terms of the state government, that I pay attention to some of the Substack, and there's some really creative ideas out there, and I'm curious if, always be learning, if there's an education function in our state governments that sort of creatively get maybe once a year some sort of discussion mode or some sort of teaching mode where they can, the different Congress people, state government people can present some new ideas. This is maybe long-term, 20 years down the road. This would be an interesting way to develop the state of Missouri. Something like what you're talking about. That might have been, this is something that we can do for our community. Hey, politically, maybe you should start talking to the East-West Council. I'm just wondering, is there sort of a bigger entity that's kind of up there trying to teach the decision makers these are really wonderful long-term plans that are going to make a difference?
There's many big entities out there doing that. I think we probably ought to talk offline. There's many of them that are represented in the room that are in that lead trying to have those large conversations. Today, we're really just focusing on MoDOT or Missouri's unfunded needs list and we're focused on Missouri's long-range transportation plan. But I can talk to you offline after we're done with some of them in the room, I'm thinking, are doing some of that work that you're describing. All right, we have one more and then we got to wrap up. I can tell some of you guys are itching to leave more. You want to talk to some of us individually in the room. Yeah, a lot of our leadership team from MoDOT St. team is here, so I hope you stay right and talk to us.
Well, thanks for
No worries.
one question is, Do you guys coordinate like with St. Charles or St. Louis County in reference to your safety guidelines, measurements, things like that? And the reason I ask that is because we had a situation in Kirkwood that a guy dumped his load on Kirkwood Road. And I said, and he was going to a dump down in Tesson Prairie. I said, why didn't you just go down Manchester down 270? And I find out MoDOT per axle requires less weight than St. Louis County. And I'm just wondering, is there a coordinating where everybody's on the same playing field?
There is some, there should be more. And then you got lots of layers in that question.
Yeah.
You ended with like the weight of trucks. You
Yeah.
said, I don't know, different way. But there is some, there should be more. Coming down from what you said. And that might be something to comment on the long range plan, because maybe there should be better coordination and collaboration on such things. All right, thank you all for your time. Again, MoDOT team, I think they look around and they all have badges on. So grab any one of us. Thank you for all coming. I know many of you guys took different commutes to get here. Thanks for being here. Some of you came a long ways away from that parts of the St. Louis region. So thanks for being here tonight. Please interact with us or let me report.